In the early hours of August 22nd in Qinghai, crews were carrying out steel strand tensioning on the Jianzha Yellow River Bridge, a crucial section of the Sichuan-Qinghai Railway. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the quiet night, as several crucial steel strands snapped, stripping the bridge of its strength. Within seconds, the 108-meter steel beam gave way, and huge sections of the structure plunged into the raging river below. So far, at least 12 lives have been lost. Families now wait in grief, knowing their loved ones will never return home. The haunting question remains: how could this tragedy unfold? Was it a flaw in design, a weakness in the steel, or a mistake no one ever expected? The Jianzha Yellow River Bridge rises at the border of Jianzha County and Hualonghui Autonomous County in Qinghai, Tibet. More than a crossing, it was the centerpiece of the Sichuan-Qinghai Railway, a project critical to the line's success. Touted as the world's largest span double-track railway steel truss arch bridge, it spans 1.59 kilometers, about 1 mile, and its arch is 130 meters, 426 feet, or about 40 stories, above the Yellow River, a feat of engineering and national pride. The bridge had only been topped out 2 months ago, and was originally scheduled for completion at the end of August. Built by China Railway Group under a contract worth about 436 million yuan, $61 million, the bridge was meant to stand as a symbol of progress. Instead, it has become the site of a devastating tragedy. At 3 a.m. on August 22, 2025, the Jianzha Yellow River Bridge was in the middle of critical steel strand tensioning near Heilong. 16 workers were on site, 15 construction workers and 1 project leader, when disaster struck. A sudden snap of wire ropes turned routine operations into chaos. By 6 a.m., the toll was devastating. 12 confirmed dead, 4 missing. 1 worker was reported trapped on the unstable steel frame, their condition unknown. 3 others had fallen into the Yellow River and vanished. With the bridge's arch standing nearly 100 meters, 328 feet above the water, experts warned the chances of survival after such a fall were slim. Rescue operations escalated immediately. More than 800 personnel, 91 vehicles, 27 boats, a helicopter, 5 robots and drones were deployed. 6 nearby hospitals activated emergency protocols, preparing to treat any survivors, Global Times reported. Witnesses said that the accident was instantaneous, with a thunderous noise like an earthquake shaking the site. The Epoch Times reported that, according to nearby residents, the bridge was already close to completion, with only 90 meters, 295 feet remaining, when the rope on the right side suddenly snapped, causing the green steel tube structure to fall. Workers involved in the project said that most of those in distress were between 30 and 50 years old, mainly from Henan, Hubei, Hunan, and Guizhou. On the night of the incident, the construction team had been adjusting the sling in preparation for the final closure work. Online, anger and grief poured in. Some netizens accused decision-makers of rushing the schedule to claim achievements. It's obvious this is the result of some leaders' obsession with grand achievements. Why rush the schedule? Why insist on closure by the end of August? Safety should always come first. Nothing else matters. And yet, they still have the face to talk about learning lessons. Another added, this happened before the bridge was even completed. If it had fractured after opening to traffic, the consequences would have been unimaginable. So what did the developer, China Railway Group, respond to the incident? On August 24th, an announcement from the company began circulating online. It confirmed that the bridge was built by China Railway Bridge Bureau Group Company Limited, a wholly owned subsidiary of China Railway Group. The company expressed its condolences to the victims and apologized to their families. But the statement ended with a line that struck many as cold-blooded. This accident will not have a significant impact on the company's overall production, operations, and performance. The backlash was immediate. Many netizens slammed the response as pure bureaucracy and chilling indifference to human loss. Everything is in vain. Give more money to the families, even though it's ordinary people's hard-earned money, one user commented angrily. Others remarked sarcastically, If this were a private company, the person in charge would have been detained already. Some were even blunter. The announcement looks ruthless and indifferent because it is. Once capital is involved, there is no bottom line. In a tragedy like this, they only care about profits. Public opinion broadly agreed. Though short, the announcement spent more time describing emergency plans and rushing to the scene, while its condolences to dead and their families felt perfunctory, devoid of genuine human care. The firestorm was so intense that Hu Xijin, the former editor-in-chief of the CCP's Global Times, weighed in that same day, posting a comment aimed at cooling public anger. But his intervention only stirred fresh controversy. Many netizens saw it as classic harmony mud, meaning smoothing over outrage to dilute the heat of public opinion and prevent the issue from escalating. Instead of easing pressure, Hu's words became another flashpoint in a storm that was already boiling. After the tragedy, there have been too many unanswered questions. How did this happen? What exactly went wrong? Was this another case of Tofu-Dreg engineering, shoddy construction done in haste to meet political goals? According to the relevant personnel of the China Railway Bridge Bureau, a subsidiary of the construction company China Railway Group, the direct cause was quickly identified. The anchor beam broke, stripping the steel strands of their key support. This triggered a domino effect across the structure. The anchor girder is the bridge's backbone, responsible for anchoring the stay cables and carrying the deck. When it failed, the bridge simply could not hold. The bridge was built using cantilevered assembly, a method where sections are built outward from supports and cables stay fastening. With the main and side spans held in balance under immense force, some side cables carrying loads of up to 1,161 tons. Pang Weibing, a professor at Zhejiang University of Technology, explained that the buckle cable may have failed for two possible reasons: either quality defects in the rope itself, or construction errors and improper operation. On paper, safety precautions were in place: protective nets, 5-point harnesses, and other standard measures. But when an entire deck section gave way, these protections were powerless. The bridge's designers, the China Railway First Survey and Design Institute, under China Railway Construction, stressed in an academic paper that the structure had been carefully planned. They claimed environmental protection, flood control, and all required safety specifications had been accounted for, with calculations showing the bridge's strength and stiffness met national standards, the Epoch Times reported. Yet Peng warned of a critical gap. Current monitoring technologies struggle to detect small cracks in suspension cables, especially under sudden stress. These weak points can fail instantly, leaving little chance to react. Although the construction team used digital modeling tools, monitoring systems, and even random bolt inspections to reduce errors, the collapse exposed deeper issues, technical blind spots, and administrative oversights that safety checks failed to catch. Ping Weibin also said in an interview with China News Weekly that the accident cannot be separated from the harsh realities of construction on the plateau. In Qinghai, Tibet, work can only advance during short seasonal windows, sometimes no more than 5 months a year. That narrow window leaves crews racing against time, often at the expense of safety. The challenges don't stop there. On the Tibetan Plateau, year-round low temperatures sap the efficiency of heavy machinery, while workers frequently battle altitude sickness. Seasonal freezing in many regions shortens the workable period even further. Yet instead of slowing down to match these conditions, projects are often accelerated. Supporting facilities such as substations and service areas are also crammed into the same limited schedule. The result is predictable. Supervision weakens, corners are cut, and rushed construction devolves into tofu-dreg engineering, impressive on the surface, but dangerously fragile underneath. Questions also arose about why crews were working at 3 a.m. A veteran engineer with 20 years of experience explained to NetEase Media that there were professional reasons behind the timing. The closure of a steel arch, he said, must be done at night. During the day, sunlight heats the steel, causing it to expand. Forcing a completion then would lead to significant dimensional errors, making it impossible to meet design requirements. That's why we usually begin after 10 p.m., he noted, when the steel temperature is relatively stable. However, the veteran engineer admitted that night work carries grave risks. Darkness makes it harder to spot dangers, while fatigue dulls focus and slows reactions. On a steel frame nearly 300 feet above the river, even the smallest slip, he warned, can turn routine work into a catastrophe. Yet the countdown was already underway. The bridge was supposed to be closed by the end of August, and when the accident happened, only 9 days were left. Every hour mattered. Workers spoke of relentless overtime, driven by political deadlines that overshadowed safety. With the finish line in sight, caution gave way to speed, and the push to meet the deadline became a race against disaster. What else could be at play? Procurement corruption is deeply rooted in China's construction industry. At every stage of bidding and supply, funds were shaved off, and cheaper substitutes crept in. Steel and cables that should have met strict standards were quietly swapped for weaker, substandard materials. Savings pocketed while safety was sacrificed. Seo Neo, a college student whose uncle runs a construction company, told NPR that such practices are anything but rare. If the central government wants a steel bar, it should be 10 centimeters. When it comes to the province, it will be 8 centimeters, and when it gets to the city, it will be 5. This is very, very common. This is not news. Another critical problem was the lack of independent supervision. In theory, design institutes, contractors, and regulators should act as checks on one another. In reality, they often share the same goal: finish fast and meet political deadlines. Design institutes sign off without thorough verification. Contractors cut corners to save time, and regulators look the other way to avoid delaying achievements. What should be layers of accountability instead become layers of complicity. This web of shortcuts and compromises created conditions where tragedy wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. The collapse of the Jianzha Yellow River Bridge wasn't simply an accident. It was the result of a system that prizes speed and spectacle over safety and accountability. We also cannot ignore the developer of the Jianzha Yellow River Bridge, the infamous China Railway Group. So, why does their name so often surface in scandal? China Railway Group, also known as CREC, is one of the world's largest construction enterprises. As a state-owned giant, it has engineered over 2/3 of China's railway network, including nearly 90% of its electrified lines, and played a central role in building highways, urban transit, and infrastructure under the Belt and Road Initiative. By 2022, China Railway Group had spent 17 straight years on the Fortune Global 500, ranked 34th worldwide, with assets of about 9.6 trillion yuan, $1.24 trillion US dollars. It was also named the world's largest construction company by revenue in Engineering News Record's 2015 global rankings. But behind all the prestige lies a darker record. One of the most shocking examples came on November 1, 2024, when tragedy struck in Novi Sad, Serbia. At midday, a 35-meter, 114 feet, concrete canopy over the entrance of the city's main rail station suddenly gave way, crashing down onto a crowded walkway. Families were resting on benches, commuters were passing through. Then, in an instant, concrete buried them. 14 people were killed on the spot, including a 6-year-old girl and a North Macedonian citizen, while 3 others were left critically injured. The death toll eventually rose to 16, as 2 survivors later died from their wounds. The station had just undergone a multi-million euro renovation, 2021 mid-2024, under the Belgrade-Budapest high-speed rail project, led by a consortium, including China Railway International Company Limited, CRIC, linked to China Railway Group, and China Communications Construction Company, CCCC. Officials first claimed the fallen canopy dated to 1964 and wasn't part of the upgrade. But project documents referencing the canopy stirred public suspicion and anger. The reaction was explosive. Vigils and mass protests filled Novi Sad and Belgrade. Opposition groups blocked courthouses. Banners read, "Blood on their hands." A national day of mourning was declared. Under mounting outrage, senior figures resigned, and prosecutors arrested 13 people as part of a criminal probe. After the collapse, the Chinese contractors CRIC and CCCC refused Serbian requests to re-inspect the station's stability, while key contacts remained sealed from public view, fueling protests and opposition demands for transparency. Yet no tangible penalties like fines or project bans have been imposed on the firms so far. But Novi Sad wasn't the first warning sign. Just months later, a deadly collapse in Bangkok had already raised the alarm. And the developer? Yet another subsidiary tied to China Railway Group. On March 28, 2025, a 30-story office tower in Bangkok, being built for Thailand's State Audit Office by a joint venture including CREC's China Railway No. 10 subsidiary, completely collapsed during a 7.7 magnitude earthquake, despite other structures on the same site withstanding the shakes. Investigations revealed prior red flags. Thailand's anti-corruption watchdog had flagged project delays, worker shortages, and possible corner cutting. There were also reports that fake or substandard steel had been used in the structure. Even before the collapse, promotional material had touted the tower as the company's signature overseas project. But those posts were swiftly deleted after the disaster. Legal fallout followed fast. China Railway No. 10 executives were arrested, and the company along with key individuals faced prosecution. In the Bangkok collapse case involving China Railway No. 10 Thailand Company Limited, a subsidiary of China Railway Group, Executive Zhang Chuanling was arrested on April 19, 2025, for alleged violations of the Foreign Business Act. On August 8, 2025, CNN reported Thai prosecutors went on to indict 23 companies and individuals, including Italian Thai Development and CREC's local partner, for failures in design, supervision, and forged documents that led to the collapse and the loss of nearly 100 lives. This time, unlike Novi Sad, where accountability was blurred, there was no escaping legal consequences. Chinese personnel tied to the collapse had to face charges. What a humiliating setback for China's Grand Belt and Road Initiative. The Jianzha Yellow River Bridge tragedy isn't just an engineering accident. It's a symptom of something deeper. It shows us the same old problems. Corruption baked into the system. Political pressure to deliver gift projects, meaning big flashy works rushed out as presents for anniversaries or milestones. And above all, a lack of real accountability. Until these foundations are rebuilt, transparent procurement, independent oversight, worker protections, and safety over speed, disasters like this won't be exceptions. Without real reform, history will keep repeating, one collapse at a time.